This video is how to CNC cement. And this is what we're left with. Let's return to home position, and all this needs to be cleaned up. I rubbed over it with my fingers. I got most of it off. The rest of it will come with a brush. I had the scan rate, or the rate of feed for every pass was 0.2 millimeters. 0.2 millimeters per pass as it feeds along this way. So boom, feed, boom, feed, boom, feed. And it gives these things, which just roll right off. Here's the result, all cleaned up. All the hangers on, chips taken off. What I'll do is run this through the table saw, get the perimeter down, and this mold will be ready. Here the mold is done, urethane foam. What I'm doing here, I'm rubbing a little bit of caulking into it. I'll show you here. This happens to be crown molding, but you can use painter's caulk. Basically an acrylic caulk that is water-based. And what I've gotten here is a little bit of caulking and some water. And I just smear it on. This seals the pores, I'll call it. It gives a better finish. And it also acts as a release agent for the cement. So the cement doesn't bond into the rough texture. It will help separate. And because it's water-based also, it doesn't really get, well, it can be removed. Let's put it that way. It's maybe a little bit of it remains on the cement surface, but it'll wash off. So this is what I do, just a little bit of water. And smear it out. That's a little thick there. And what you can also do, if you have some intricate grooves, which there really aren't here, you can use the brush. That actually helps spread it a little better, doesn't it, than my finger. And then what I'll do after that is just smooth over with the finger. So the caulking coating has dried on the logo. What I have here is just a board. We're going to make the mold. This is actually just a piece of cement board. And you notice that the cement board isn't even as big as that. And for this small project, I don't think it'll matter. I've got some scrap pieces of wood. I've cut from some old used scrap casing. I've cut them to be, let's see here. Oops, that's a long one that goes there. So here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. And we're going to do that. And like so. I'm actually going to invert it like so. Get one nail in. Okay. You see that's fairly secure. That's just sitting in there, friction fit. It's going to sit here. The cement will fill in here. I'll just be carrying it like so. The next step is to caulk this in place, do a nice seam around here to seal it, and I'll then let it set for a little while, and then we can cast it. We'll let this set for a few hours, then we can mix concrete. Okay, here's the mold. All the caulking has dried overnight, and this is all sealed. We've got a baseboard here, and we're all set now to mix some cement. I'm going to first of all mix up some colored cement, and you're going to see how that's going to work in a moment. But I'm going to mix up a little bit of colored cement, and we're going to do this thing that's going to be a two-tone stone with the logo in it. Okay, most of these projects are kind of small. I collect bags of broken bags of material from Lowe's and Home Depot. They put them in a bag like this because they're torn or whatever. They're only partial bags, and they sell them for half price. So I keep a couple of those around and keep them in bags so that they don't harden up. This right here I'm going to use as a grout, a bag of precision grout for anchoring things. I do sort of prefer, for this first layer I'm going to do of color, I prefer sand mix or sand topping mix, but this is what I have. I could mix it with some sand, but this is going to work well. And I'll do my first coat with color. I'll do a thin layer, and it will be colored. And then I will follow up with the bulk of the thickness of the casting with this stuff. This is fence and post mix. It has some larger, has pebbles and aggregate in it, and that'll be for strength. For this first part though, in the mold where I want the definition of the, I want to fill the first 3/4 inch deep with something that will mold better. I could use the pebble mix and it would still work, but there's a risk of some of the aggregate showing. So I've just mixed up, scooping out a little more. I'd rather mix too much than too little. That's about right. Okay, time for the color. You can get this in just a few colors, but this is a charcoal. You can get a red. I've tried coloring cement with latex paint, and you can to a tiny extent, you can. But if you pour in too much of the latex, it affects the cure. It really slows down the cure, sometimes to months. I put some green paint in once, and I put in too much, trying to get it greener, and it just crumbled. I couldn't separate the mold without destroying it, so I left the piece sitting out for several months, and it did pretty much fully cure. It probably didn't have the ultimate strength that it should have, but now I just guess, I just don't want to put in too much. This stuff is pretty potent. If you get this on your hands, it really stains, and my hands will be stained. So we'll mix this in and see how dark it is. I've done some multicolor, a large sign that was about 24 by 24, and I had red, I had charcoal, and then the natural cement. I could do some interesting effects. So this is slightly darker. I think it's noticeably darker than the, but I'm going to add some more. It's noticeably darker than the natural cement. The nice thing about doing this is if you were to just paint cement, I mean, it would wear off. This, if you chip your image or your lettering or whatever you have on your sign or logo, the color is in the cement for whatever depth you pour. So we're going to see how this goes. This might go half an inch deep. The color's in the cement. So if you scrub it or whatever, you're not going to scrub the color totally off. The surface can fade a bit. But, so that is that. Now we're going to set up for the next step. I didn't start the video camera. What's happened is I scooped in the material into the low spots in the mold, and here's my vibratory table. I turn it on, and this flows out like that. Now I can see areas where it has not flowed yet. I don't have sufficient cement, so I will address those areas and reflow it. Have a lump there, a few lumps. Blurring the JPEG image prior to generating a CNC file. The blurring helps create, if you blur a sharp dark edge on a white background, it actually generates shades of gray around it, an aura. That aura, when you're here in a grayscale production of the CNC programming, the code file, the gray ends up being different shades of gray or different gradients of depth. So you get contours, where if you just had black, you'd be black and then white. But this way you have black, gray off to white, and so you get slopes. And that gives a gentle slope. And this stuff is flowing up against a slope. It's like filling a river filling a valley at flood stage. It goes up gradually, gets wider. We can control, by controlling how much we put in, we can control how far upslope this stuff flows onto the logo image. So, okay. I'm going to rerun this here. Okay, like this. It flows. Okay, no need to touch up really. I see one area. Just one area. I've got a few drips there off to fix. That area there. That's pretty good. Okay. The next step is just to wait until that is half cured. So it has to be stiff enough to bear careful placing of another layer. And for that other layer, we're going to use fence post mix, which has pebbles and things in it. And that'll give a little base strength. And we'll more or less fill it up to full thickness here. Maybe when it firms up a bit more, I might take a scalpel or a knife and just scrape a little bit along the edges to make sure I have the definition, because this is slightly overfilled. I should have put just a little less cement in. The cement's firming up, but there's still a layer of liquid stuff on top, just a little bit. You can see the shininess. I'm going to wait till some of the shininess disappears. When I place the other cement on top, I don't want any of it to wick over into the area where I don't want colored cement on the logo. So what I will prepare though is the bucket. I'll just show you a little of that's the fence post mixture that I'm going to use from that bag. I do have a little bit of the grout, the sanded grout left over. I'm going to mix it in too, just so I don't have this, I don't know, there's a cup full, cup and a half, 2 cups of material in there. I'll mix it in with this. And so I'll give that another half hour to 45 minutes. It's time to mix up the fence post mixture. I threw in that little bit of grout, sanded grout, that'll thin it out a little bit. just about right. I just lay it across the areas I want to protect. In particular, I lay it across gently. The margin trowel seems to be the best for this. It's small, but not too small. I can get a good amount. I don't really want to pour. I wouldn't want to pour the cement onto there. That might be too much of a disruption. So I just lay it down there. Don't let it drop from too great a height. Fill the corners. Maybe once I get a layer on there, I'll be a little more aggressive in putting some in. So just watch this. This is just a partial layer. I'm going to turn this on. It flows out, and you'll see bubbles come to the surface. Different areas of the tire vibrate differently, so sometimes it helps to move it around a bit. What this also does is at the margins, the edges where you have the mold, it gets the bubbles away from there, and you know, it settles everything in. Wow, cement here is going to be just about the right amount, I think. One last tickle with the vibrator. We'll let this sit overnight, and it should harden up. So a lot of the aggregate sinks to the bottom. The heavier stuff on top here, it's sort of soupy, but with sand, it'll be fine. There's something I'm going to do later once the cement's cured a bit. I'm going to go around and just do a little edging once it's firmed up, and that'll help it break away more cleanly, give more of a finished edge. I'm not going to trowel this at all. There's no need. It's been 24 hours. Things are just a little damp there, a little gummy maybe, but substantially cured. It's time to take the mold off. And the only thing I did last night at one point is I did emboss it with the little tool there. Only thing is it was a little late. I normally would have a slightly deeper embossment. But so what we're going to do now is just knock this apart. And it's very easy to knock apart. I just use the nail gun, so they don't have any grab or bite to them. So I'm going to pick this up, and I'll get rid of that there. There it is, right here. Yeah, see that nice little edge there, that little ridge there. That's from the backside of the casing that I used for forms. Okay, what I do is I'm going to push down with my palms and pull up with my fingers. Oops, there we are. Sometimes these don't release very well, but I just need to flex the foam up a bit, pull it gently. If you do this too early and the concrete's not cured, you end up pulling off some of the relief features. And so there, moment of truth. I don't want to damage the mold because I can use this mold again. Wow, okay. This is interesting. I don't know why I have a little bit of white A little bit of white there. Oh, some of that actually white is the transfer of some of the caulking that I used to seal, and it will rub off. But I'm not going to rub this now. I want this to thoroughly cure. I'm going to leave this out for a couple days. And I see there's a void right there, and that's not fully cured. So this is a flaw there that broke away. I didn't. Well, that piece is still stuck in the mold, and this sometimes happens. Maybe I could have left this a second day. The addition of the dye to the cement does tend to, at least I believe, delay the cure of the cement. So it will take longer. So I'm going to leave this out for a couple days. And the only other thing I will do is I'll be washing this and going over it with a rag and by hand, just to wash off, just to clean it until it runs clear, because some of the dye will be on the surface, right? And it might clean up some areas here where make this a little lighter if it picked up any of the dye. What would I do if I was going to do this project totally again from scratch? I would make a new foam. I would keep the same features here, the same amount of blurring I had in the original image. The blurring made the nice rads. I didn't do it on the edges. So what I have to do is make an edge perimeter of white to black, but white to black, and I would blur it so it would go be a gentle contour, give a good radius there. Also, the other thing is when I filled the black or gray, charcoal gray cement in here, I would not fill it quite as high, because you can see it rode up fairly high on the radius, and I start to lose some of the sharpness of the image. And that's the one thing I don't like here. I put in too much gray cement, so it filled up too far into here, and it started to go over the top of this. I'm talking about, it was inverted when I poured it, but so I could get a sharper definition if I put of these this light colored cement if I didn't fill as much of the gray. And there is the breakout right there. That's just, it came out with the mold, and this is not fully cured. This gives you an idea of the type of thing you can do with casting using molds. Thanks for watching.